And salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Trackmania MEA Regionals. We are in stage 2. My name is Matfish, and I'm joined by the Middle East Africa legend, caster extraordinaire, Altruism, Michael. Mate, it's been a long time. How are you doing?
That is the best intro I've ever had, by far, 100%. To be known as the legend from this era, yeah, I've been around this industry for a while in other games, Overwatch and Rocket League being my top ones, but this is my first time getting to see Trackmania being played at such a high level. I'm so sad all the South African teams are out there. I was rooting for one of the three to make it, but we have already gotten to see some great Trackmania, and I'm excited to see what the semi-finals and the finals, or at least the low bracket finals and then the grand finals look like today.
I mean, you're in for a good ride. Let me tell you, mate. You're in for a phenomenal ride, as we do have an interesting story to pick up on here in MEA. We've got 3 teams remaining. Apologies for yesterday being no broadcast. We had some tech issues, but those have all been sorted out for today. We started the double elimination bracket with 7 teams, only 3 remaining. 2 familiar faces in Foot and Molotov. But then we have our third team, Let Us Cook, trying to climb the mountain.
I mean, to come in late into a season for any team is very difficult. And it's a very considerable team, and a team that's getting the results that they want to, but only joining at the end of that first regional split was a difficult point. You know, there's top 4 points that you're trying to work towards. You know, those top 4 tickets that take you through to the wild card are what's up for grabs. And the first 2 have almost pretty much been guaranteed at this stage. We've now got such a fight for that 3rd and that 4th ticket. And this Let Us Cook being one of those teams that really wants a way in. If you guys didn't get to see their run so far, they have come in now and they need to win one game, at least one semi-finals, one lower bracket finals. They need to make the finals at least once. And now they've got a chance to do that. But their opposition being Molotov, man, that's going to be a difficult road to get past.
I mean, Molotov and Foot is right, the 2 dominators of the region. You've got Foot at the top, then you've got Molotov, and then there's a whole big kerfuffle behind. And it's now part of Let Us Go. It's now part on Benoxy and Tormas to just usurp Huzo and Ignite from Molotov. Foot, they've already played against in that upper bracket. They've lost 4-0. Molotov lost 4-1 to Foot. So both probably losing that grand final. So this is why this lower bracket final is so important as we move into the pick and ban phase. And we have 2 bans already. It's going to be Molotov in the blue banning Breaking and Let Us Cook banning Vortex.
Mark, I'm always interested to see how teams use the maps to their advantage, right? There's obviously maps that you have personally practiced, that you've worked out all the lines on, that you know have some tricky obstacles that might confound your opposition at some stage. I want to pick your brains as the Trackmania legend. How do you actually go about drafting this versus your oppositions? How well do you think that your opposition has planned out every single one of these maps?
I think personally it's especially with it being 10 maps, it's okay to have one map, one permaban. I think that's fine. If you take one map away from you every single time, that just leaves you with less maps to practice. Maybe during Discovery, you don't like a particular identity. Maybe during Discovery, you don't like the Flover map. And if both of you agree on it, then you could just ban it every time. It gives you an easy one. And then it makes you more competitive on all the other ones, as Vortex being the one banned, possibly the hardest identity in this map pool, banned away from Let Us Cook, maybe speaks towards that sort of idea.
Okay, so that's what I was wondering, is do you ban a map so that you know that you don't want to have to play that because you don't feel comfortable, so you draft everything around yourself? Or how much do you start reading your opposition at this stage? I mean, these are teams that are coming up against each other all the time, right? Molotov is obviously a team that feels very strongly. If they win that map against every opposition, do you bother taking that away? Or is that just a we'll deal with that, or even throw that map away, that you just want to make sure that you keep your strengths going?
The problem is you have so little data at the moment. If we go into if we go into the 2nd or 3rd regional of this, with this being a new map pack, then maybe you can pick specifically against the opponent. But with this being the first region, the data is just a bit lacking. Most people practice offline anyway, and not practice online to not have their PBs shown on shown on the leaderboards. So it's a bit of picking into the dark. And also with Let Us Cook and Molotov not having played before, it's a bit of not necessarily picking against your opponents, but picking towards your own strengths.
Okay. I guess, yeah, you're right. This is the beginning of the second regional split. And so they've now refreshed the map pool that's available. Not everyone knows what everyone else is doing, but you at least get that time to practice yourself. So you just try and grab a couple of maps and hopefully your opponents haven't practiced them that well, right?
Yeah, I think that's literally that's the way to do it. And we are now getting into it slowly but surely. It's Molotov versus Let Us Cook. And Alt, I've got to ask you, no South Africans in this one, but we have one African representative, Benoxi out of Morocco. Do you side with the underdogs? Do you side with Let Us Cook, or do you go with the favorites?
Man, in terms of history, Molotov's got this all the way, right? They are infamous of coming down to this lower bracket finals and then winning it in a clean 4-1 or 4-0, as we see Huzo being the first one to take a little jump off the track there in the warm-up rounds. Going to be interesting. I don't know. I don't know if there's ever going to be a team. You know, every day there has to be an upset somewhere, right? There's always that possibility. Whether it's today, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if Let Us Cook is that team that's really come out. Like, we've only seen them in one regional. So I don't know if I back them to take down someone who's as experienced as Molotov just here today.
Yeah, it's going to definitely be an upper struggle. I'm tending to agree with you, but it is the best of 7. It's going to be a long day of Trackmania for us here. 2 best of 7s back to back. And right now, it's looking not too awful for Let Us Cook.
Yeah.
Thomas currently holding on to that P2, which is, of course, so important with the points distribution system.
You know what I like to see, though, is not just that he's holding this. He looks comfortable. He's in amongst the team that obviously has practiced this map. And so the fact that he's going, okay, this is my first real look at this map, maybe you would be able to see by this stage whether this was a map. Oh, he actually manages to get through there. In 4th position, we see Benoxis. I still think that Let Us Cook look practiced on this map. This is not a completely, you know, suspicious map or a difficult map that they obviously have never seen before. They've at least got some time here, and that's what I like to see, at least for the first round.
Yeah, and let's not forget, this is, of course, Molotov's map pick here on Airwalk.
Exactly.
So it's always going to be an upper strike against map pick number 1 from your opponent as well. But Thomas there with the snipe in the end, just getting that one singular point, getting himself on the board. But it is Benoxi currently lacking in behind again here on round 2, far behind Huzo, Thomas, and Ignite. Gonna have to do a lot of work to catch up the 3/10 difference.
Well, yeah, you know, at this stage, I was wanting to see just how close these teams were in this. Was this a case of someone's going to crash in every round, and we just have to wait and see who's going to, like, push that upper limit? All of these teams are looking to refine at this stage. They know this map. They know where they want to hit it. And at this stage, I'm very interested to see. Now they realize they're going to have to push it a little bit faster every one of these rounds if they're going to be able to take it. We're looking coming through there, and both the top 2 coming out there. Molotov do manage to pick up that ace.
Oh, and the Airwalk identity, it strikes for the first time in this regional, and it strikes against Let Us Cook. Thomas just missing that middle jump pad, and even though he had P2 during the checkpoint, he didn't convert it into a finish. Molotov pick up the ace, and now opening up the lead 5-1.
I mean, that's the thing about the identity, right? It's the make or break for anyone's round. And this is why I was first interested to see if people were going to be able to make that consistently. The fact that they're already starting to struggle just in our second round makes me worried a little bit for Let Us Cook. They've got 1 point on the field, but it's whether they can really try and upset the balance here in the map pick of their opponents. Maybe it's going to take a little bit of time to get to Let Us Cook's map pick. You know, maybe they'll take the next round quite comfortably. But for now, any points they can get in will just get themselves some good momentum into this series.
And good momentum. It's slowly but surely easing into it. That's what Let Us Cook need. Like, it's good to be on the ball. It's good to be not down 5-0 or 6-0 as would be the case. But right now, the speed differential is just too big. Who's on Ignite? Yeah. Did they both make it? They both did. And Thomas got griefed again. It's an identical finish out of Molotov within 200ths of one another. Nothing Let Us Cook can do there.
Nothing you can do. They get it right. They get it right perfectly every time. And if you look, Benoxi, not even in the race for a long time. Obviously messed up earlier in the track, so didn't finish there. And so it's not just an ace, it's a clean ace. It's an ace that you're struggling to just keep up with the two who've done this time and time again.
Yeah, it's a very clean ace, and it's looking very dire for Let Us Cook here on Airwalk. Fourth round, potentially. Already the last round here for the Let Us Cook side. As Molotov, again, after that big jump, opening up a lead about 3-4 tenths to the opposition.
Yeah, and their line's being followed right now by Molotov. You can see they're both doing exactly the same thing. You Let Us Cook still trying to identify this, still trying to react to the map, whereas Molotov know what's coming around every corner. Still doing well from Let Us Cook to both stay in it. It's going to come down now to the identity. Do they manage to keep it going through? They both manage to hit it, because Molotov may mess up once, and you've got to be there. But right now, even it's not just about making it. Molotov still through there so cleanly, even though Let Us Cook not really making a mistake. It looks like Benoxy at the end there didn't manage to make the identity, or even just before then, might not even finish right now. The important thing is Molotov not putting a foot wrong and taking our first round.
Molotov, 3 aces back to back to back, taking Airwalk in a supreme and dominant fashion. It has been clean by the Turks. And if that is how the series continues on, it's going to be dangerous for Let Us Cook. But now we go into control. Now we go on to actually Let Us Cook's first map pick. They need a strong comeback here.
Yeah. This is where they're going to define themselves as, we are very good racers, we just need to be racing on our home turf. They were caught off guard maybe by Molotov's map pick. They might not be super comfortable on that map, and it might be, you know, like their 7th or 8th best map, as opposed to this one. They're now picking their home turf, and they're being matched quite closely so far by Molotov Gaming. Everyone managing to adapt to the different surfaces, keeping good, nice, tight angles on these apexes, and Ignite, in fact, being the one to lead the charge right now. Thomas still sticking out there. It seems like Huzo did go down a little bit earlier in the track, and so it is this fight for the top 3. We'll see if Ignite can follow it all the way through to the finish.
And Ignite and Benoxy really battling forward. You can already see much more confidence on the side of Let Us Cook as we go into the little teaser jump of what the identity has to offer into the bobsleigh. It goes down rather well for both Benoxy, but best for Ignite, who's going into the lead. 6/10 the lead, going into the last identity checkpoint. Up high, who's got the better angle, who's get the better bounce off that ice wall. Ignite, oh, it's so good, it's so clean, and he converts the first place. He carries it into the finish and secures Molotov Gaming the draw.
Man, that is someone, this is what I was talking about earlier, right? Was, does the opposition know your track? Do they know exactly how they're supposed to be hitting these weird shapes, these off jumps, the things that you can't react to? And they're 100% Ignite knew how to get through every one of those turns practice way. I think this is intimidating for Let Us Cook there. Huzo did fall out earlier, so maybe not both of your opposition on Molotov, they're going to be feeling very comfortable into this map pick. But Let Us Cook weren't flawless themselves, and so they're going to have to hustle it out against obviously a strong map pick for Molotov.
Yeah, Molotov ultimately still having the ultimate pace on control first time around, at least getting that first place, which is so important to get you that draw. And now Benoxy having troubles, falling further and further behind Huzo and Ignite for Molotov in the lead as we once again go into a bit more RNG heavy section, but that's a beautiful jump by Thomas. He's trying to catch up, but the icy wheels make him drift wide.
You talk about RNG and Trackmania, friend. I think that's a very controversial opinion. I think that everything can be calculated if you look at those TASs, and it's about knowing your lines. It's about practicing where you want to hit it, and not a mistake coming out there from Molotov, taking 1 and 2 yet again, just never actually drifting wide. And yeah, Let Us Cook, even on their own map pick, finding some difficulties in some sections.
Tough ace to swallow here for Let Us Cook, who in that first round should have taken it. Benoxy, immediate bonk on the outside wall's gonna fall behind by about half a second, already putting Thomas under a lot of pressure. With this being the team format, of course, still it's the communication. If you know your teammates out early, Thomas now has to push for all the marbles.
100%, right? Is he cannot afford to let it off. He doesn't have to just keep around the pace. He has to get at least between these two. And he's done a good job of it now. Ignite still being that player to charge at the front lines of every one of these maps. He's obviously one of the strongest players in the region, and managing to hold his lines through this perfectly. Huzo managing to come back in second place. Certainly not someone that is letting the team down in any way. A very consistent player, just playing almost the safety role behind Ignite and following Ignite's example through every one of these, using him as his metric. And so far, it's working out for Molotov, taking one more ace.
Another ace, another mistake coming out of Thomas on the ice jump into the bobsleigh. And with that, it's looking very much like a repeat of round number one, of map number one rather, on Airwalk Alt. 7-1, track point, round 4, let us cook. Well, they have to at least deny the ace for now, but it's looking mighty, mighty difficult.
I'm a little bit worried about this. I mean, this was Let Us Cook's map pick. Is this one of those you do your best map pick absolutely first, and this should theoretically be Let Us Cook's best map? In which case, they're going to have to hope that their second map is one that is a little less familiar to Molotov, because right now Molotov coming it all the way through. A little bit of a tight fight here for first place. Ignite actually got Thomas right on every one of his bumpers.
And there's a little mistake coming out of Huzo as well, but it's not going to matter as Benoxy too far away to profit off of it. Ignite, again, just seems to be the class of the field, just quicker than anyone else. Thomas is trying and trying as he might. He just can't close the gap. In fact, the gap is getting even bigger from Ignite. He's on a miracle time, it seems, at the moment. 59.1. What a time in rounds from Ignite.
I mean, that is just under the gold medal there. So not bad, must admit. A decent. The fact that he's doing that sort of speed every round just means that this is his personal best. His like, I'm not gonna just beat you. I'm gonna do it with the best style. I'm gonna show you how far I can push this map. And Huzo coming in third position means that they don't just quite get that third point. But I mean, let us cook, and already Benox is off to a difficult start, even just out of the gates.
Out of the gates, the first little jump over the sausage block, costing Benoxy dearly. 8 seconds behind, and with that, it really doesn't matter what Thomas does. It's 1 point basically guaranteed for Molotov. The ace no longer possible for Let Us Cook unless we see some crime and absolutely ridiculous shenanigans. Ignite with a mistake, and Thomas follows suit.
Oh no, the one time that Ignite makes a mistake.
Don't give us hope, man.
That's just the idea of how fast they're pushing it. It's actually Thomas does take the position away from Ignite, but his mistake gave the position finally to Huzo. Huzo might be able to get that record for himself, or at least that top position for himself. Goes nicely into the last one. Actually, he manages to carry it all the way through. And it is going to be Ignite coming in third place, the lowest position for him in this match. But really, it matters not. Benoxy struggling in at least half the rounds here mean that Let Us Cook, even on their own first map pick, do not manage to get more than 3 points.
It's tough. It is really tough. And I think that just goes to speak how strong both Molotov and Foot actually are in this MEA region, where you think you have a chance to maybe pull an upset because this is a new map pack. Not necessarily everyone is going to be as familiar with the maps right now as they will be in 2 or 3 weeks' time when we go for Regional 2 and when we eventually go for Regional 3 as well. But to be this crushed on both first maps for Let Us Cook is going to be slightly demoralizing, I feel like.
Yeah, 100%. And the idea is when you go onto your map pick, you're like, this is the one I really know. And getting just out of the gates, that's no longer I need to refine my line, which is something that Molotov is demanding right now. It's going, we know these map picks. I mean, look at how low they jumped on that first point. Obviously trying to minimize their air time and get back onto the road so that they can accelerate faster. Ooh, a little bit of a missed jump at the end there. Huzo getting taken out. But a map that they got the idea of where they're going and what they're trying to do. A nice line coming out once more, ignites, just setting the pace, really handles the wiggle nicely in the middle there. But Noxy holding in at least third place, Thomas really being the one to put the pressure on ignites. But Huzo really far back at this stage. It's up to these three.
It's up to D3, it's up to Thomas to finally deny Ignite that P1 finish and trying to get himself into that winning formation, but he can't do it. Ignite once again just too quick, and if the rear gunner fails, it doesn't matter. Ignite's got the speed, Ignite's got the consistency, and Ignite's got the P1 to secure Molotov the draw.
At least the draw, right? Is that 2-3 finish. Huzo struggled to get back into it, and that's the problem. One mistake. Noxy taking a very high line there. That's what's losing him and putting them in this catch-up position constantly. It'd be nice to see him drop that down, and even cutting that corner a little bit too sharp just settles off your momentum completely wrong. For now, it's Huzo and Ignite in first place. Huzo manages to get a little bit more height there, taking less risks on the jump that he struggled with earlier, but so far, Thomas still holding very firm at the top here.
It almost looks like both teams are designed in a very, very similar manner. You've got the pace setter in Ignite and Thomas, and then you've got the rear gunners in Huzo and Benoxy. The problem for Let Us Cook is that Benoxy, in comparison to Huzo, simply isn't consistent enough with every single map. So he's not an effective rear gunner when the mistakes come out, eventually do come out from Molotov. But as I say that, there's been a mistake in the backline from Huzo, and Benoxy is able to get the second draw in a row.
Yeah, you don't expect your opposition to go all the way down to 7 seconds, 8 seconds off. So you're looking at, well, I can make maybe half a mistake. I can get a line not 100%. That's what that rear gun is supposed to be. Is not that I miss a jump completely and just hope my opponent misses 2 jumps. It's got to be more of a, I've got the whole thing down. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is still Let Us Cook. Is this their second map pick, right?
This is Molotov's.
This is Molotov's. Okay,
this is Molotov's second map pick, but Molotov, both players making mistakes, both Ignite and Huzo, leaving Benoxy and Thomas to just run away with it in the front. This could be a rare ace potential here for Let Us Cook. Benoxy got absolutely jotted. He got launched out of the water. Huzo's back in P2.
He was bamboozled by the track for half a second there. You can see he jumped the wrong way, and it just costs him at the end there. He's trying really. He's got a bit of pace on Huzo. Might be able to finish it through this last couple of corners, but Huzo holding on to it by just 0.1 of a second roughly. And it's unfortunate that Let Us Cook couldn't capitalize on that ace. It would have definitely been, considering this is why I was a little bit sold off there, that I thought this was Let Us Cook's map pick, because both Molotov, and I mean, for just Ignites to drop it down, but for both of them at the same time and give a lot of space there to Let Us Cook, that was an opportunity that they would have loved to have capitalized. But still, 4-3, it's their first lead.
But it's a rare mistake. It's a rare chink in the armor for Molotov that could give Let Us Cook a bit of hope. Yes, they didn't capitalize on it fully because they got griefed by the water, and especially Benoxy got griefed by the water. But still, it's hope. It's light at the end of the tunnel. It's the fact that they can do it, as Benoxy now still struggling, maybe mentally still in that last round, has to just leave that behind him again. Thomas alone in the front behind Ignite and Huzo. He's got a little bit more speed than Huzo though. He's going to overtake on the outside of this first turn. A little hit doesn't really matter, but he loses too much speed.
Yeah, he was overtaking, and he's still doing better around that outside edge than Huzo. But that little chink on the corner as he came through, it looked minuscule. Really didn't seem like a lot, but it does cost them the ace at the end of the day. Molotov managed to regain their lead and get themselves just 2 games or 2 rounds off this, and it's going to be up to Benoxy. Benoxy has to be able to come in third for at least a couple of these rounds to try and secure the points at least and stop them running away with this for Molotov Gaming.
It's not going to happen this round though, as Benoxy is having supreme troubles trying to collect the first ring checkpoint, having to respawn multiple times. Again, all the pressure on the Israeli, and all the pressure here is on Thomas from Let Us Cook to somehow force or induce a mistake into Molotov, as Huzo is getting griefed by the water, and Thomas inherits P1 slightly ahead of Ignite as well.
Oh, that is a massive moment to take out both positions there. You just watch your opposition going at the top, and we've seen Thomas. He's been strong through the section before. Ignite cuts a final line and takes that first position away as we go to the final. Oh, nice cut through at the end there. Thomas managing to slot it in at the edge. A beautiful fight to the finish for those two.
Beautiful fight to the finish and backed up by Benoxy as well. It didn't seem likely. Ain't no way after failing the start twice. Benoxy still comes back to collect the third place. And he collects exactly out what you wanted him to.
Exactly, right? Huzo, I cannot believe Huzo was our leader for the whole way through there and then just through the water. And isn't that the way of Trackmania? You get one thing wrong, everything else goes wrong after that moment. Dropping down to 12 seconds off the leaders and giving some space for a third position. A tight fight, even on the points on Molotov's map pick. Definitely one that's been a lot more familiar to Let Us Cook. They're down by 1 point, but they're back into this. Ignite off-seeded from his first position. Huzo once more in that pressure point of first place. It's going to be interesting to see if the water haunts him like it does. But as such a professional player, just sends it off, but it's the tree that costs him once more in such a similar position. Thomas wants to clinch this out again.
Oh, yeah, Bush strikes, but it doesn't matter. Thomas had it all in his hand, but it fell away from him. He will finish P2. He will deny the ace for Molotov. Oh, but it could have been so much more for Let Us Cook. It could have been greatness. Now, in the next round, they need the ace. This map grip will finish in round 7. It's the closest fight yet. Old, I'm happy that you sent them the script, but have you sent them the script where Let Us Cook now take the ace?
Right? Ace is still in this. Let Us Cook still could take this, and it's coming down to how hard they can push their opposition. A really nice fight. Benoxy's best attempt so far, and it is actually the 1-2 position. Let Us Cook really coming through desperate. They realize that they need to take it right now, and they forced something out of Molotov that we weren't expecting. We've seen mistakes. It's just up to who makes absolutely no mistakes while still chasing that first place, that perfect line. Because right now, Let Us Cook in that first and second. No, we're going to see a drop down. Thomas, the one to take a rare knock. And Benoxy, this is the first time we're seeing them in first place. And they've only got 1 or 2 corners left to navigate.
Only 1 or 2 corners, but he's lacking a bit of speed. He seems to have enough. Disaster strikes! Not like this. Who let them cook? I asked because I'm absolutely troubled. It seemed so promising, but in the end, the superior experience of Molotov shines through and grants them a victory, a clutch victory on grip, and we go into map 4 altruism with reverse sweeping, the only way back for Let Us Cook into the grand finals.
No, the fact that that was Molotov's pick and Let Us Cook pushed as hard as they possibly could, harder than we've seen them even in their own map book, that they looked strong. Even Benoxy, who's been struggling the whole way through, found the rhythm at the end there, pushed it. And Molotov managed to even, the fact that they took an ace there, the fact that we're currently sitting at 3-0 to Molotov doesn't prove how close this competition has actually been between Let Us Cook, at least in the last round. And now it's up to Let Us Cook on their final pick, their map pick, right? This is the chance that they've got to bring it back. They've got to be able to at least bring one back, and they struggled on their previous map pick.
They struggled on the previous map pick, but that was also, I think, mostly due to Molotov being extremely confident.
Yeah.
On that map pick. Now on off-road, it seems, again, a lot closer. Huzo with a mistake, Benoxy with a mistake. So it's, again, between Thomas and Ignite in the ice slide. Who gets the better exit? It seems to be Thomas. Gets grip fastest of the two, but now we go into the identity. Now we go into Tree Hell. Part 1 been survived by both of them. Part 2 coming up now.
Oh no, Ignat. Okay, that's costed, right? Someone had to hit it eventually. They were mimicking each other so tightly throughout every one of those. Even into the ice line, that was an identical bit of movement, some poetry coming out of the two of them. But it just seemed that eventually someone had to go wrong, and Ignite's taking that knockdown. Actually, it's going to be Huzo to take the second position. It's going to be interesting to see Benoxy not managing to come through and sneak out that third position. but it is 2 points for that first place for Let Us Cook on their map pick. And definitely neither team without it. In fact, actually, I gotta give credits. Thomas looked good the entire way through there.
And Thomas looked good. Thomas looked so good that he actually just, you know, casually drove the current online world record in the first round of off-road with the 57.4. This map, very difficult, but Thomas seemed to be navigating it quite well in round one, but he has fallen deep from there. The higher you go, the deeper the fall. Huzo, another struggle on the jump, and Noxy currently in P1 trying to fend off a charging Ignite and sliding out, but so does Ignite. It's chaos on off-road.
Oh, everyone, yeah, this is the problem, and this is the psychology I was going to ask about the fact that we had Thomas managing to set that record. He's now fighting it out for first place and fighting hard through the identity. Huzo cannot afford to make a mistake right now. It doesn't seem like he has. Manages to get past where Ignite does, a completely blind flying through those trees, and a little bit of pace at the end, but unfortunately, there was no opportunity. 0.02 coming out there from Thomas, really fighting it down to the wire, but it evens out. Still, everyone kind of going down at the end, in the middle of that fight there. Mark, what do you think about that?
It's just chaos. It's the ice, like when there's a weird gear in there, you just slide out for basically no reason at all. And it sort of struck everyone, which I'm fairly surprised by, because I thought the trees would be the bigger issue, but seemingly the ice, not that trivial either. Coming here into it, another small mistake from Thomas in the early stages. Gonna lack speed on the uphill, is gonna lack speed overall for the rest of this map. It's gonna fall far behind. At least he makes the jump. No further mistakes, but it's Ignite and Huzo currently in ace position for Molotov. If it wasn't for Ignite, once again the ice strikes with his next victim.
Yeah, at this stage, I feel like maybe Let Us Cook deciding for the slightly slower entry into the ice just so that they can make sure that they are nailing it. Huzo going with confidence, and Benoxy actually trying to catch up, meets into a tree. That's going to cost them. And back into another one right now. It's actually going to be the first and second. Even with the slide out, Ignite manages to come back. Tom has lost a long way back into this fight and only just going to finish now. Molotov take the ace.
And it's a big ace. When it's all tied at 3-all, first to 10, to take the ace, they're basically 30% is done, and you just instantly get another 30% of your score tally. That's big. That's a big ace at a big point in time here for Molotov, trying to crush the spirits of Let Us Cook, who, and Thomas said after the last map in in-game chat, I don't think that the stream is able to see, nerves. The nerves hit them. It was there for the taking, but the nerves got to them. And I wonder if the nerves are going to play a similar part here on this round. Thomas once again bonking on the inside.
Oh, this is exactly what I was wanting to chat to you about, is the mentality. I don't know what it's like to be in the mind of a pro Trackmania player, but I know games in general, and the fact that Let Us Cook was so close to it, you can see it coming straight into this. The fact that Thomas managed to set the best record in the world right now, casually in the first round, just makes me feel like they're coming into this a little bit more desperate, and that's what's making them mess up a little bit. They are pushing Molotov to a point of breaking. But right now, Molotov managing to navigate that whole thing absolutely perfectly once more makes me worry and makes me just wonder, what does Let Us Cook have to do to get back into this? Because they're there, they've got the skills, but it's not hitting the track.
57.0 out of Ignite, another casual online world record. This would have been on the leaderboards with that time. So Ignite definitely getting used to it and feeling it. Once again, the pace leader here of this lobby. But yeah, I've got to say, I think Let Us Cook, they've tried. Try as they might. I think this is the last little hurrah that they're going to have in this regional. Molotov only needing 1 point, 3 aces in a row needed for Let Us Cook to win this map, and it doesn't seem likely, even though there has been a mistake from Ignite. Huzo just looks too strong at the moment. He's got a second leeway and doesn't even slide out in the ice. Benoxy does.
No, right? You're expecting that's your last hurrah, right? Maybe you're hoping for him to now hit a tree and then go from first to second, but you need him to have a catastrophic moment somewhere.
Oh, hit the tree!
He did hit the tree, so it gives a little bit of space. Huzo, in fact, he's hit the pole once more. Benoxy comes through at the end and does at least hold Molotov out of that victory. Huzo really on the finish line. Black flag.
Is this the comeback?
Yeah, no,
It
come on, Mark.
is this the comeback, Altruism? Do we actually see the once in a lifetime opportunity down 9-3 against Molotov Gaming? Let us cook. They collect their first ace. They need at least this one now as well.
You can't dangle that in front of me, friend. You just can't open up that opportunity for me in my first Trackmania taste to see Let Us Cook. And we've seen them. It's just the nerves.
Another mistake.
We've seen Huzo does go down first and second, currently belonging here to this mixed team. Morocco and Israel being represented right now for the last time in this World Tour. Potentially, if Ignite can hold on to the second position, makes a good work out of that ice, but he's still got Benoxy right on his tail. It's going to come down to a single tree.
It's going to come down to the wire, the last little forest to negotiate here for Ignite. No mistakes means he goes through, as Minoxy has made the mistakes. Ignite, it's flawless through it. He secures P2. He secures Molotov Gaming. Another grand final appearance.
57, almost flat coming out there. Even at the end there, Thomas wanting to try and do his best. But Noxy only just offered 1.4 seconds. But Ignite holding it through, flawless the whole way, makes such a good work of that ice that it's come to haunt a couple of players. And it's a single point that gets them there. Let Us Cook, still 8 points there near the end. It was tighter than the 4-0 would want you to believe. But Molotov still holding it through, looking powerful on every single map.
Yeah, it's a sweep in the end for Molotov, but really on map 3, on grip, and on off-road here, it's not necessarily the full story. Yes, Molotov extremely dominant in the first two, but on off-road, on grip, they've shown signs of weakness, and I'm wondering, Foot Esports, waiting in the wings, waiting in that grand final. Have they just watched what happened? Have they seen? And will they pick their maps accordingly? That and more, ladies and gentlemen, after the break in our grand finals for the MEA Regional 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Trackmania World Tour. It's MEA Regional time, and it is grand final time again for you, Machtfish, joined by Altruism, and we go straight into it. Let's say pick and ban phase has started already. It's FUT Esports, the dominators of MEA, against Molotov Gaming.
Oh, this is going to be a tough match, at least for Molotov. I mean, FUT is so used to being in this position, and they've never really been challenged. I mean, no one's ever taken more than a single round off them in any of the brackets ever in the regional this year. So they're feeling very powerful. You know, they've come into the second half, and they are here to go. Right, we've got basically our wildcard slot guaranteed right now. Let's see what any other challengers can do. And so this is definitely not a team that I'm expecting to be making many mistakes through any of these maps.
Definitely not expecting a lot of mistakes to come through. And Molotov, now us with picking a map, it has been picked off-road already by FUT, possibly watching the map that just happened, as we have Vortex picked by Molotov. Again, the map that I think has one of the trickiest identities to navigate.
At this stage, that's kind of the defining point, right? You're trying to pick something that you've practiced, you know is going to cause problems for everyone else, but you've practiced so that you can hit it consistently every single time. Make sure that you get both first and second, and then you've got a lot of opportunity for at least one player on your opponent's team to mess up that identity. So Vortex, really strong option. I'm excited to see how they push their advantage on that.
It's going to be an interesting one, as we have our map pool confirmed for this series. Best of 7, potentially no upper bracket advantage here for FUT Esports, has to be said. But, I mean, they get the advantage of having first pick. That's the extent of their advantages. Off-road, into Vortex, into braking, control, grip, airwalk, and then the random map being picked at the end there is speed. It's an interesting one, and off-road especially coming in first, we just see Molotov having major struggles on it, nearly whiffing it and throwing it to Let Us Cook.
Almost like that this is something planned out by FUT, right? That they saw, what is the one map that they're really struggling with? We're going to get to see them on 4. Let's put them on one that they did not do as well on. I mean, I see Airwalk there also tucked away later onto the roster if we ever get down that way. But I think this is going to be a psychological blow that FUT is trying to land here, as well as just getting up the points.
Yeah, I mean, these two teams already, of course, have met yesterday in that upper bracket final. FUT able to take down Molotov 4-1. We don't know which maps have been played, so we can't really take any, we can't make any readings into it. Maybe it's different maps than was picked yesterday. Maybe it's the same maps that were picked yesterday. We don't know how the map goes, but that just makes it much more exciting for this grand final, for this first regional here. It's 200 euros prize pool on the line as well. Let's not forget, next to the World Tour points, 150 euros for first, 50 euros for second.
Oh yeah, that's the nice thing, right? Is these guys put in so many hours into perfecting every one of these maps. It's nice for them to get the cash behind it as well. That makes it a little bit sweeter. As well as the fact that, I mean, both these teams are very good. You know, we're not expecting either of them to drop down now. They're going to look comfortable on every one of them. This is really going to come down to who has perfected every one of the maps, as we see here. Huzo just sitting in that 4th position. Ignite certainly having to fight it out between his two teammates who are holding it tightly at the front there. No slider. Oh, one slider at the very top there. Birdie still in it, but unfortunately Kemco going down there, and so it's going to have to be Birdie holding on to the first position to try and share this out.
Yeah, Birdie trying to hold on for P1 to at least secure the draw here for FUT Esports. He's got less speed, but the finish line comes quickly enough for him. It's 56.3. It's already about half a second quicker than what we've seen in the entirety of last match. That's just the speed difference that we're talking about here. But Molotov crucially able to hang on for a draw.
Oh man, that's a horrifying point that you point out, is that all top three managed to get basically our records they were talking about last time. Kimco being a lot more powerful here. Birdie having dropped back to the very end there, even a little bit of wobble. Still in the competition very intently. Going to manage, just to clip over that jump. A little bit of an inside clip takes out one of the Ignite players, or at least Ignite from Molotov Gaming. And Huzo now having to fight it out at the top there. He doesn't get the jump right either.
Doesn't get the jump right, and both Foot players can now take it easy across the ice. Birdie significantly reducing his speed just to disallow any sort of shenanigans to happen. His Foot currently holding down the ace, 6 seconds clear, can even afford a respawn, hit a tree, and it doesn't matter, but they won. They will finish it in style. Foot with the first ace of the grand finals.
And again, both of these players from Foot coming in with that record time they were mentioning earlier. Ignite Huzo, in fact, just to add a little bit of injury there, it just ends up like backflipping onto the finish line. 14 seconds, that's a long way off. Both of them making obvious mistakes throughout the track. It's just Foot not putting a foot wrong.
Yeah, Foot just woke up on the road, didn't wake up with the wrong foot today, but woke up definitely on the right side of the bed, getting their foot down early. And I think that's the end of the Foot bunts one now.
We fought it through there. Birdie taking a very fast pace through this ride now. He's being chased. Second place still held by the Foot team, but Huzo, Ignite, both in this. Ignite's taking a rare back seat in here, letting Huzo maybe be a little bit more aggressive. Ignite's trying to hold on to at least get someone in here. It's a very close way through there. Birdie and Kimco still managing to come out with extra pace, but certainly not a definitive pace. It's still going to come down to if anyone makes a mistake through the trees, I think.
Yeah, the forest is still going to be the decisive factor, but no one's going to hit anything, all going through clearly. And another world record, or at least an online world record, from Birdie, 56 flat. The quickest time that we see, and Molotov, try as they might, they can't hold on.
I mean, every single person there was under 57 seconds, and so the fact that Foot still claims the ace there, it's going to be up to Molotov to realize we can't just rely on our opponents taking an accidental back line or hitting into something. We need to start pushing this. We need to start finding the perfect line through everyone, and sometimes it's going to take a little bit of risk. You hope that someone's going to drop out there. Mgo does actually go down a little bit into that fourth place. He's still so close, though, even though he lost the pace.
The pace, but it's Birdie and Ignite fighting at the front. Ignite going full steam ahead, keeping the gear as well through the ice, not sliding out, has now got a bit of a gap opening for him. Birdie trying to catch on 2/10 of a second adrift, going into the identity now, off-road into the forest, but Ignite has the better line, has more speed, and Ignite will finish the map first. It is going to be a draw because Huzo not able to catch on for Molotov, but at least it's another point. At least it's something for the mentality.
Yeah, they're keeping up to date with it. They just had one mistake by one of their players that sent it back, but they're still up and ready to fight for the first place. You can't be fighting for second place. You got to be up there consistently trying to fight it out. And Ignite's doing a good job. He's looked powerful in that previous round. It's good to see him once more keeping the lines.
Good to see you. But like, once again, his rear gunner has fallen short. Huzo already made 2 big mistakes. A respawn 8 seconds adrift. So it's on Ignite to hold down P1 again to at least try to get something going here on off-road. He is close to Chemko, but can he be closer? Can he be even better than his Turkish rival?
Oh, and you just see Birdie sitting in third place. They casually making their way through there. Still sitting, half a second, 3/4 of a second behind. But just letting these two fight it out right there. And so far, Chemco just holding it, or Chemco, sorry, holding it far ahead of Ignite. Ignite just hoping for something. But it really didn't seem to be on the tail the whole way through. 4/10 of a second behind is not exactly putting lots of pressure on first place.
55.8. Rude. That's rude. And I see the messages in chat. Trackmania tells me different world records. Apparently, it's not been world records, but it's been strong times, regardless of that fact. From Foot Esports, 56 flats, 55.8 in the end there. from, God, from Chemko as well. Map 1 won decisively by the favorites, won decisively by Foot Esports, and now we go into Vortex.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this. This is the map pick for Molotov, and we talked about it. That identity is a make or break right now. It's not one that you sort of get right or sort of get wrong. You get it perfect, or you could be in big trouble very quickly. And so Foot's definitely going to be familiar with this, I'm sure, but Molotov, hopefully they are going to look for both of their players to be strong throughout.
And not only the identity on Vortex, I feel like is a big problem, or at least it was for me when I discovered the tracks. But also the start, it's a weird block to be spinning around and then having to find the exact right timing to drive out of that spinning block. Not the easiest, as demonstrated brilliantly by Chemko as well, who has had troubles and is falling by just because of it. Birdie with a lot to do for Foot Esports here.
Yeah, that's one of those aspects that you think could really define. In these close matchups, that could be where you're getting your extra quarter of a second, is just knowing how to get off the start, get yourself off right, and then use that current pace and line that you've practiced so much to navigate through the rest of this. So far, though, it's Birdie being in that first position. Foot still looking, even on this difficult map, to be able to take it out there. Ignites a little bit of wobble to reset himself onto this. Really nice dodging through there. And he and Huzo looking very strong at the end there. It seems Birdie took a clip off the edge.
Birdie taking a clip, falling victim to the identity. Chemko also struggling with it. Foot Esports getting aced by Molotov and looking, well, for lack of a better word, absolutely terrible in their first outing of it.
Oh, well, that's mean, man. 15 seconds, yeah, not exactly the best time, but not really being able to navigate that identity at the end there. Molotov flicking their way through it so quickly. They have practiced that. They know what they're doing. And so far, a really good start. Molotov on their map pick to be able to pick up that ace, and now they're holding it tight against Foot, who do have first and second, but they still have to prove themselves worthy of being able to get through the entire map flawlessly. They still have to try, as Huzo is an interesting line with the jumps, gonna lack a lot of exit speed, therefore falling back behind Chemko and Birdie, virtually indistinguishable on top of one another, about 3-4 times clear of Ignite. No real mistakes coming, it's just cleaner driving. Chemko though bouncing across the pipe on the first pipe, Birdie having problems with that corner, inviting Ignite back into the fray and back into the mix. Just gets that higher line, gets his wheels to touchdown, and gets so much pace. Now it's the identity. Chemko has to make it the whole way through. If he can hold it, he's going to take the first place, and he does. Almost a minute flat. Oh no! It's just 5,000th of a second behind. Ignite holding it absolutely to the limit.
Why, Ignite tried. He had more speed on the grass line. He took the tighter line in the end as well. If the finish block was one block further away, he would have gotten the snipe, but so 5,000th of a second get Foot Esports the victory. They cut the deficit back from 3-0 to 2-4, but mistakes are plenty still coming out for Foot here on Vortex. Chemko, another early mistake, and Birdie 5/10 behind. Not the cleanest transition for him either.
You know, that's the big thing, is Molotov might just be more comfortable between the two players, both of them managing to at least get that even points on that last round. You know, get the ace in the beginning and then just trade it out towards the end if you need to. But so far, Foot definitely going to be the ones to try keeping this. In fact, all the pressure going to be on Birdie. He's once more having his little tussle in the front lines with Ignite. Huzo not too far, far enough back that he's inconsequential between these two teams. But he just needs to keep going ahead of Chemko. Right now, Ignite looking so comfortable throughout this whole thing, though. He could very comfortably, and he will take that first place.
He could, and he does. He could, should, and does take that first place. Huzo, the rear gunner, doing rear gunner things, getting P3, doing exactly what he needs to, as Foot is struggling hard here on Vortex. Simply, I don't think it necessarily comes down to lack of practice, but maybe it's the relative. It's maybe not as much practice as Molotov's put in on this map.
Yeah, exactly, right? That's why you pick a map. You're expecting your opponents to have seen it at some stage. Everyone's driven every map at least once. So it's not that your opponents are not practiced, but if they have not perfected it, and there's so many little flicks through the corners, you know, those pipes are such interesting mechanics in of themselves that you can exploit if you know what you're talking about. That early starting rotation, rotating platform that you were talking about, every part of this and every part of every map, so interesting to see how they can work it to their advantage. Molotov very comfortable here, and maybe this is the spot that they saw on Birdie's stream yesterday that Foot was struggling with, and using that prior knowledge, whatever knowledge that they've got, to be able to come out here. Still, Foot looking very strong in this race.
Yeah, yet to see a clean run from all 4 players, and we would have nearly gotten into if it wasn't for Ignite, but now we go into the identity yet again. Everyone keeping their grip nicely. Birdie, though, lacking speed. Huzo is able to overtake Birdie. Is maybe trying to get that P2 finish. He's got the wider line, but it doesn't matter because he just has more speed. Huzo holds on a vital P2 for Molotov.
Yeah, that's nice. At least keep getting your points up there. Foot do take first place and third place, so they still get the 2 points. It's going to close the lead very slightly. But Molotov within 1 ace, or at least more importantly, they just need to get 1 point and then 2 points. You know, 1 finish, 1 first place, and if you can get that 2nd point at any stage, you are doing well, and trade it out from this point. That early ace making all the difference.
Early ace proving to be vital here as we come to the closing stages. Birdie, another mistake coming from him as Ignite and Huzo early on lead. Lower airtime, better transition. Therefore, 0.3 of a second clear in front of Chemko, who's now building his rage. The bull has been poked, the bear has been awoken, and Chemko takes P1.
Good to see him. He's got that pace, and he's going for it, obviously, with great intent. This would make the entire difference in this. But Chemko also being the one player who struggled the most. In fact, he's managed to force both of the Molotov players to mess up there. He's got a bit of space here. He could manage to at least get that first position. Seems like Birdie not going to be able to catch up any sort of pace. He's got one more opportunity. Huzo, it seems Chemko now just actually giving it up at the end. He did not manage to get the identity. He struggled the whole way through. Ignite's going to take the pace out here. Chemko, I think, is too far back. And in fact, yes, it is going to at least be position number 1. And it seems position number 3 for Molotov.
A victory for Molotov after both players messed up early, came back because Chemko couldn't get the identity correctly. Molotov, track point, only need 1 singular point. They don't even need a P1. They just need to hold on for a P2 finish, and they win map 2. They win Vortex and move us into an effective best of 5.
Birdie, I think the pressure here is a lot on Birdie to try and fight it out, at least for that first position victory. And then Chemko got to hustle himself out here. Huzo getting a nice line early into this means he's got some pace coming out here. It is going to be Ignite a little bit further back, still in this, but dropping ever further behind. He's not looking to maybe push the limit and take that first position. He cuts in nicely at the end here. He's managed to take third. Chemko going to be fighting it out. Birdie once more, not with a great run here. And I thought he was going to be the one to take first position.
You're not the only one, but Birdie struggling supremely here on Vortex, has to find the best identity of his life to catch up to Huzo and Ignite. Huzo already making a mistake. Ignite, though, no mistakes from him. He will hold on to that P2 finish. Molotov equalize the series.
That's all it takes, right? Just keep one person in there, make it so that even with one mistake, Huzo fighting it out, and both of them insurance all the way through there. It seemed like Ignite dropped down in the beginning, maybe taking a slightly slower line to make sure that he navigates it properly. But Molotov getting themselves the ace on their map pick before their opponents could really get adapted to the map. And it seems like we've got a level series, my friend.
We definitely do, Altruism. We definitely do have a series on our hand. Here, Molotov came to play. They don't want to be set aside as they have been in the upper final with the 4-1. But now we go on breaking for the 3rd map. Again, back to Foot's map pick. And we see what happened on map pick number 1 from Foot. That was dominant.
Yep. They knew what they were talking about. They'd practiced their line. And again, it's once more up to your opponents to be able to, how much practice do they have, and can they bring it on this day? Can they try and upset it? Because you've got to do it in this close competition. And Molotov maybe being able to run through there with that momentum of the previous round.
Hopefully they can make this map as competitive as they've made the last. Currently, Ignite able to hold on to both Birdie and Chemko. Huzo in that P3 Ignite on the ice line. Going for a wider line, going tight now in the inside on the drop down. He's looking to get more speed, and he does get more speed as there's a mistake coming out from Huzo. It's the top three, separated by just 1.5 tenths.
Oh man, Huzo was going for a big play though as well. Getting up high, managing to get out with that pace. If he could have held that line, it looked good. Chemko and Birdie now holding that position. Ignite clipping on that inside edge, manages to take him out of the tight fight. As we pump all the way to the end there, it's going to be difficult for either of these Molotov players to come through. That might give the first ace across the foot.
It was close on the map until it wasn't anymore. In the end, mistakes creeping in for Molotov. It just shows how fast they have to drive, how maybe they also have to overdrive and overextend themselves just a tiny bit to be competitive against Foot that don't not only seem to have the speed and the raw speed down, but also the consistency to match in that first round. But in round 2, it's a promising start here for Molotov.
I'm excited to see what they're trying. You know, that outside line from Huzo on the ice to get extra pace, it nearly worked. He just lost it in that last play. So if he can hold something like that, if they're just trying to do different things to be able to challenge Foot, it'll be nice to see, because you can't just rely on 100% efficiency and being able to know the lines. Oh, a little bit of an outward slide there takes out Ignite, unfortunately. So you can't rely on Foot making a mistake. Try find your way and back into it. Manufacture something.
You have to manifest that you do stand a chance here. It is another ace formation, though, for Foot Esports. Birdie and Chemko comfortably ahead, about 4 attempts into the breaking part. They go, they wiggle, and no one will gonna slide out here on that identity. It's been mastered by all 4 players, but it's been mastered the track as a whole better at the moment by Foot. Second ace, back to back.
Ignite's being the only one to actually drop out of that through a mistake. Everyone else in this map, they're really finding out hard. But so far, Chemko and Birdie just look like they're having a casual practice session. They're looking good on their lines. They don't look too worried on any of the turns. They got their drifts down. I'm excited to see what's happening with Foot, but as I say that, Birdie out at the beginning?
Birdie out with an early mistake from him. It's going to leave a lot of work to be done by Chemko, who's being overtaken ever so carefully by Ignite, going now into the long ice slide and drop down. No mistakes yet, no slide outs yet, no one hitting the signs either. Everyone going in cleanly, but Ignite lacking a bit of exit speed. Chemko able to catch up.
Huzo as well, just not navigating that combination of dirt and the ice on his tires means that he has to cut his speed down. He does check into the wall a little bit. It's given Chemko the pace as we get towards the end here. Really nice maintenance, a really nice consistency from him coming out. Birdie just completely gives up the entire map. So we will see a split points here between Molotov and Foot. But Molotov, I think, happy at least that they're trying to push Birdie or the Foot into that point where they can make mistakes.
Yep. It has happened. As Birdie, I don't quite know what happened to him there at the end. A minute apart, I don't think he just wanted to play the round. He just, early mistake, maybe a double respawn, and then just was, yeah, no, I don't need to try anymore. Let's just focus on the next round when we actually have all 4 players participating in the round.
Yeah, 100%. Right now, Foot doing super well, and they've got themselves the points. They just need to keep getting within the top 2. But that's not the way Foot does this. You know, they want to stay in this. They want to stay in this very competitively. And both of them are actually sitting in 3rd and 4th points. Huzo and Ignite doing well. Birdie, in fact, gets another check on that inside corner, slowing him down even more, making this ice difficult to navigate. Certainly a different base, but Ignite checks himself out on the way through. Huzo, the only one left in 1st place. And Birdie managing to overtake that. In fact, Ignite dropping all the way down to 4th.
Ignite all the way down to 4th, but luckily everyone else made a mistake. Huzo, the only one to go in clean, but he can't allow a mistake to happen here on the identity. Can take it slow, though. Has enough leeway to do so, and he manages it beautifully. Goes for the finish. Clean as you like. 101 flat for Huzo to get the draw for Molotov, but it's too little at this stage, Altruism.
Yeah.
It just, Molotov need aces. They need them now.
I mean, that's a difficult task, right? Is guys, just go ahead and get 3 or 4 aces in a row. Well, at least 3 aces. Maybe 2 aces and a second place or a first place, but 2 aces when they haven't managed to do any aces throughout the entire competition is a tall order. This could be an opportunity. Birdie just, again, once more decides he wants nothing to do with this round. It's all up to Tmwt, and if Tmwt makes a mistake, this could be the first ace here for Molotov.
It's all on Tmwt to hold on to P1, or at least P2, going forward into the ice that has griefed so many players. This time, everyone playing it safe, getting through it nicely. No slide outs, but Tmwt risking it a tiny bit more, getting more exit speed, has a tougher line, but hits the line and recaptures P1.
Oh, this is impressive. He has managed to go his way through all of these points. Oh, a nice bit of speed at the end there. Tmwt holding it. It's going to be up to whether he can navigate this last little corner. He makes no mistake, but Ignite. In fact, yeah, it was Ignite. He does clip it out there. Hughes are going to take second. Does that mean Ignite actually not going to take third?
Unfortunately, it does.
Oh, no.
Second map pick from FUT Esports. Second 10-3 victory in favor of FUT Esports. Molotov, they have the pace, but they just seem to struggle stringing it all together.
Yep. You got to do these 10 things. You got to do them as quickly as possible, and you cannot make a single mistake, otherwise your opponents are going to be on you. Even if you just go into every one of these corners right, you don't 100% know you're coming out faster than your opponents. They could be doing it just as perfectly. You got to just do it every single time. That's something that Molotov, when they get themselves the pace, they start hitting into obstacles, they start checking it out, they try and push too many risks. But this is back to their map pick at least.
Back to their map pick, and we've seen what happened last time. They were able to win their first map pick of this series. Now on Control we go, and on Control, in their earlier series, in that lower bracket final against the Let Us Cook, Molotov looked very, very strong indeed. But of course, FUT Esports, a completely different caliber of opponent. And that's no disrespect to Let Us Cook, but just matter of fact.
Yep. I mean, that's history, right? So far, FUT have taken every single upper bracket all the way through, never dropping more than 1 game in a bracket, and then taking every single one of the regionals so far. So this is just like win number 4 if FUT can close it out now. The fact that Molotov has taken a game off them is good so far into this. We don't know if Molotov will take all 4 of the games that they need to, and so far not off to a great start. Huzo actually managing to win it out into 3rd position, Tmwt losing it at the end. So a point apiece, but Molotov at least the first step, take game number 2.
First step for Molotov there, just securing themselves the draw, as Tmwt had some sort of trouble in the identity. They looked set for the ace, but then suddenly, again, it all fell apart. That's why we love the identity. Even though you think everything is sorted, it really isn't until you cross that finish line.
Oh, I love that part. There's so many opportunities to make mistakes, and even when you've got through all of them, like you say, you're still not feeling super comfortable. Ignite now coming out of the dirt section with a bit more pace, manages to get up. He's shadowed by both of the FUT players right on their tails, less than 100th of a second in it between these 3 players, and it seems like Birdie going to be able to get the pace out on the other side. Ignite drops down to 2nd, still holds that tightly, manages to take a better line here. Birdie losing a little bit, giving up that 1st position, but like we say, going once more, it is all coming down to the identity. Birdie goes out completely. Ignite's going to be able to hold that 1st position, and Huzo might be able to actually make up the time behind him. He does.
The snipe comes out from Birdie for the victory. 2nd time running, 2nd time FUT make a mistake, and for the 2nd time, Molotov are the beneficiaries. They profit off of that one and take an early lead here on Control.
Not an identity that FUT's going to be able to react to. They need to start figuring this out soon, because it's costing them the lead. At least it has as a result of the first 2 rounds. So far, Molotov looking strong. They're always in it. Huzo has been struggling a little bit, but Ignite putting the pressure on their opponents and making sure that no mistakes can come out, and even no mistakes don't guarantee you, as both of them come out of each of these sections. They've kind of got their own defined sections. that they love coming out with a bit of pace. This time it's Huzo taking the fight on the front lines.
He's taking the fight, but gets a weird landing there into the bobsleigh. Has to forfeit P2, and is actually falling back all the way to P4. Chemko leading the pack here for Foot Esports, trying to answer the victory of Molotov Gaming by victory of their own. Let's see the identity. It's a brilliant jump by Ignite. Birdie, though, coming up. Birdie with the snipe, and Foot got the ace.
Oh, you said it was a brilliant jump. I worried there. He just got himself a bit tilted, landed a bit off on the other side of the identity, on the way down. It's just with that bad line, the bad positioning, the bad facing, Birdie managing to take that clean inside angle. A beautiful way to finish it, and Foot take our lead here. Molotov really fighting tough on their home ground. They've still got a good line into the beginning of this one. Everyone feeling good through the first half of the track at least.
It wasn't necessarily that Ignite's line through that identity was bad. It was a little bit high, granted, but it wasn't bad. It was still a good line. But the fact is, Birdie just got a better one. And that that tiny bit less of air time, that just gave him the early landing, early acceleration into the finish. So Foot getting the ace there. Now on to the second one. Can they follow him? It's a mistake from Birdie. He's going to fall back. Huzo overtaking, but so did Chemko. It's every player separate by about 4/5 tenths of a second, so nothing really should happen going into the identity, but we know, of course, it could very well. Huzo, high, too high, it's gonna fail, and it's a draw instead of a victory.
Okay, I said Ignite got too high of a line previously. That's too high of a line. I'm going to change my calibration of that. As Huzo at the end there, just a really difficult moment there. Molotov would have loved to pick up those 2 points at the top there and really try and deny too much out there. But the second, third position means that it's dragging out just each team picking up a single point, unless I'm very much mistaken. But Foot still with the lead on their opponent's map pick.
Foot with the lead, but it's not a comfortable one. Molotov putting on the pressure, and Molotov able to strike at any seconds. I think overall, all four players on this map incredibly closely matched. If we get a clean run from all four of them, it's literally who finds a better gear, who finds a better entry and exit here of this bobsleigh. For example, Chemko struggling. Both Molotov players, supreme lines through it, but Ignite throws it away.
Oh, Ignite just using that pace and trying to cut it in. If he could have gotten a little bit further out, that would have been beautiful. Huzo still managing to maintain that momentum. Birdie not too close behind him, and so it's going to be up to Huzo making a mistake. He does not, and a bit of a wobble at the end there from Chemko actually gives Ignite the way back into it. But Ignite hitting that inner corner, really being the difference maker between having the clean ace. Still Molotov pick up 2 points and narrow the gap to 1.
It is a victory here in favor of Molotov, cutting the lead down into 1 point, but now with Foot having 7 points to the board, Ace would make it. Ace would seal the deal here on control. So Molotov, first order of business is deny the ace at least, and then look what's possible further from that.
Yeah. You cannot afford to slide out as one person, because then you put so much pressure on your opponents. You've got to make sure that you're getting the lines better. You got to pray a little bit that your opponents are going to, at least one of your opponents is going to have a bad landing somewhere, maybe even sliding out. So far, no one having a problem with that. Chemko and Ignite fighting it out in that top 1 position. Even that's very important, considering how close we are to the 10-point goals at the end. Chemko is still holding it by a little bit. Going into the identity, Chemko manages to get lower down. Ignite's got a decent line, doesn't manage to cut it off though. It's up to Huzo, not getting any foot wrong in the 3rd place. And Birdie certainly not an ace for Foot. And they're lucky to be able to pick up at least 1 point into it at all. So 1 point each, both of them within striking distance.
Both of them on track point, a 58.8, very nice time driven by Chemko to solidify that P1 finish. Birdie once again having issues here on control. Now both teams potentially in that track point. They could potentially take it. Ignite and Molotov need the ace. Foot, in comparison, quote unquote, just need the victory. It's all to play for. A victory for Molotov would mean 9-9 all squared, and then it's whoever wins a map around.
Man, I'm falling in love with Trackmania more and more as I get to watch good players like this going through the motions on it. And Once more, Chemko being the one to dominate this track strength here for Foot. Put in the pressure. So far, Molotov 1 and 2 positions, but that's a long line out there. So far, Ignite looking the strongest through this. Huzo still wanting to keep it in there. Got to deny at least the 2 points for Foot to give themselves a chance back into this. Ignite goes into the identity. He's gone very high. Chemko's in fact going to be able to come through and take the first place.
Chemko get the first place, but crucially, Ignite who had to respawn, but so did Birdie, not able to pick up the pieces for Foot as we have yet another draw. 9-8, Foot inching ever closer to that eventual map win, but it's tough work. It's hard work for Foot Esports. A victory for Molotov would send this map into overtime. Anything else, and Foot wins.
Man, Molotov for the last couple of rounds has just kind of felt that they've been like, don't give the entire game away to Foot. At least keep us in it. Now they can't do that at all anymore. 1 point is all that Foot needs to be able to take this. Molotov got to be able to come through with at least first and third to be able to secure that first point, but it still gives 1 point there to Foot. They cannot afford to draw it. That is the key moment. Ideally, they want to get themselves the ace and take this cleanly. It's difficult, but they're doing well so far.
Doing quite well. Huzo struggling though on the exit, slides around quite a bit. And with that, loses P3, loses good plays, and Chemko holding on P1 as well as looking dire for Molotov here on control, going to the entity once more. Foot as going ahead. Birdie is high, but he's not too high. He won't be sniped. Yep. It is a draw. Of course it is. What else could it be? Foot take control in the closest of margins.
Oh, man. Just whichever team seems to get that first ace. If you can do that in the first round, you hit the track better, you get yourself that early 3 points, it's just enough because you know your opposition are going to be fighting it out tooth and nail. Molotov tried so hard. They kept themselves in it all the way to the end. Foot, though, up 3-1 in the series. And it goes back to Foot Esports' pick.
And it's not just any old pick. It's a pick that we've seen Molotov struggle in the lower bracket round here on Grip against Let Us Cook. We are back. Molotov need to elevate themselves, need to cast that past experience aside and really focus on the job. They cannot afford any slip-ups. They need to win 3 on the trot to take the grand finals away from Foot Esports. Done and do what no one has done before them, including themselves. Yeah. Can it happen? Can Foot Esports be denied another grand final victory?
Man, the psychology that this Molotov team is under right now. History is not on their side. Their points are not on their side. Even the map pick against them right now, certainly something that they will keep in mind, considering they played through it just a little bit earlier today. They have so much against them, but they're looking so strong. They've looked so tight, even when Foot has been able to take it. Molotov has looked good. Right now, the first ace going to be going cleanly the way of Foot Esports, and Molotov have to pick up this and rally themselves quickly.
Clean ace for Foot. Very nice time for Chemko. Seems like order and balance may be restored here in the MEA region. Molotov looking strong, but can they be even stronger? Can they really induce the errors into Foot Esports' way? There are a few errors coming out. Ignite taking an early lead. Huzo has to abort the tricky jump to go for a wider line and therefore forfeiting his position on the pitches. Now P4 behind everyone else. It's Birdie from Ignite, Chemko, and then Huzo.
Well, back and forth between these two teams, really splitting out the field there. Chemko coming out just ahead of Huzo. Of course, we've got these outward sloping, the camber there, really causing problems for people, balancing that between the aggression of your push into it, the speed that you enter it, and the way you accelerate through it. Still, Birdie holding it solid. A nice second place comes out from Ignite, but Huzo just making one mistake too many. Has to only pick up the fourth. We do get a 2-1 victory for Foot.
2-1 victory, cranking up the scoreboard to a 5-1 lead. Now, if at any time, now would be the time for Molotov to find an ace for themselves. Yuzo minimizing airtime the best he could, lacking exit speed as a result, but still will be in P2 and fighting with Chemko and Birdie.
Oh, this fight again, though. What do you wait for Foot to pray that Foot's going to make a mistake right now? Hopefully they just get a wobble there. Birdie loses a bit of speed on the landing, and so it gives this fight a little bit easier towards Huzo. He only has to feed out Chemko, but Chemko is looking so strong. Huzo takes a nice clean line, though, straight through towards the center and loses out in the wiggles, meaning he keeps that pace. Chemko, though, still managing to maintain and now actually pulling away on that camber.
Oh, the wheelie perfectly measured, perfectly judged by Chemko. It's the maximum rotation that the car's gonna allow, but he keeps the grip on it, and he will finish in P1. Another victory here for FUT Esports, 7-2. Now the lead after this round. Molotov look flat. They look defeated. Have they got the fight left in them?
Man, I mean, Birdie there had a couple of wobbles, but when you're considering that Ignite was just so far behind at that stage, it really is. You've got to get both of Molotov consistently at the front there, fighting it out, and maybe just a little bit here or there making the difference. Right now, it's not that. FUT's dominating this map, really putting Molotov onto a place where they feel uncomfortable. And whether that was planned from the previous series or just knowing their opposition well, FUT have definitely read this matchup well and taken control of it.
FUT definitely taking control of the match. And they're now trying to not needlessly prolong things here. Round 4, of course, the earliest round a map could end. It would be a statement from FUT Esports, who have been denied promotion into the TMCL during that Swiss stage, going out 1-3 in a very, very difficult Swiss bracket. But they see you as motivated as ever to dominate MEA, and dominate is what they do. FUT Esports take the first regional of stage 2 and make it 4 in a row.
Stage 1 was dominantly FUT's to control, and it seemed like over the break, nothing has changed here. An ace to finish it up, 10-2 your final score, and they take the entire track for themselves. Clinical, once more setting themselves at the no team going to be taking more than a single track off us. And what a beautiful way to dominate the scene. Molotov looked so good in a couple of those middle maps, but not able to bring it back anymore. And certainly, like you said, flat at the end.
Good, but not good enough, unfortunately, for Molotov Gaming, who, try as they might, can't dethrone the absolute monsters of FUT Esports. But there is some silver lining here, Altruism. I feel like FUT not as clean as you would expect them to be. That perhaps is because the maps are relatively new. It is only the first regional. Stuff is still being figured out about them. You're still trying to build that ultimate consistency. But Birdie in particular looked troubled, looked very, very beatable at times. It was a lot of heavy lifting on Chemko, but he did move up when his team needed him to. That is the strength of FUT Esports. When one struggles, the other one is just there to back him up.
Amazing, yeah. Because I felt Birdie was doing very well on the earlier maps. As soon as he got onto a map, though, that he wasn't 100% perfect, and that's kind of the beauty of this early in the season. Maybe this could have been Molotov's chance to be able to take a couple of maps. Because certainly when they put FUT onto a map that they weren't 100% sure of, there was a lot more opportunities. And they handled themselves well on that, managed to take their one. But still, giving up half of their map picks, even if it's by that small of a margin, just proves how good FUT is at wrestling away this opportunity from anyone.
Yeah, and FUT, congratulations to FUT Esports for a deserved P1 finish, 4 on the trot here in the MEA region. Stage 2 has been kicked off, the next regional for Middle East and Africa in 2 weeks' time. But ladies and gentlemen, that will be it from us. Follow Trackmania and the Trackmania World Tour, of course, on the socials that you see below. Follow the Twitch channel to stay up to date with all manner of Trackmania World Tour casts. And of course, feel free to follow us too as well. The link to that is in the Twitch chat at the moment. Thanks, of course, to our sponsor, Caporal, for making all of this possible. Thanks, of course, to our producer and admin extraordinaire, SRK, running the stream in the background. And ladies and gentlemen, that is it. My name's been Matfish. I've been joined by Altruism, and we wish you a great Saturday. See ya.